From the heartland of America, Love, Marriage, and Stinking Thinking. The program that takes on the common myths about life, love, and marriage with national relationship speaker and author Mark Gungor. Radio talk show host Debbie Chavez. Music by stellar recording artist Tom Washatka. And now, the host of Love, Marriage, and Stinking Thinking, Mark Gungor.
How are you, Mr.
The co-host,
Gungor?
the hostess with the mostess.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment.
I don't know what that means.
Because that could mean that you're saying I'm fat. This is not a good way to start the show.
Only a woman. Would you please welcome Miss Debbie Chavez to the program? Give it up for Mr. Tom Washatka and the band. Great band, huh?
I know.
Good-looking keyboard player. Also our floor director, the lovely, the talented, the most incredible Mrs. Wheeler. There she is. See, when people who listen to the radio show see her, they're going to be shocked.
I know, because Mrs. Wheeler sounds like
she's like 93 or something.
Mrs. Wheeler! Mrs. Wheeler! Can you help us, please? Fingernails on a chalkboard, that saying. Yeah.
I like that sound. Anyway, and would you please welcome my lovely, gorgeous, wonderful wife, Debbie. Ta-da! Anyway, you are watching Love, Marriage, and Stinking Thinking. This is a program that takes a look at how we think about marriage today. Mm-hmm. A great deal of it is stinking thinking.
That's the name of the show. And before marriage comes dating, theoretically anyway.
All right.
And sometimes the problems start right there.
A great many of the problems start there.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at some emails that have come into the show regarding the dating situation prior to marriage.
All right.
This comes in from a lady who says, my fiance and I have been having some discussions about sex. We are both, I know this is your topic that you try to avoid, but let's just go for it. We are both born again and try our best to live right with God. We understand that the Bible says sex is between a couple in love, a husband and a wife.
Yes.
Our question is, if we are in love now and set to marry, you can see what's coming. If we're in love now and set to marry in just 4 months, why is it still wrong?
Just wait. Just wait. Good grief. What's the hurry?
She says, does one day, your wedding, really mark a stamp that, yep, you're really in love, you made this commitment, now you can have sex? If we would have sex before the wedding, would we really be hurting God?
Blah, 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 blah. I love the people that rationalize. Look,
I know.
The Bible's very clear. Sex is for marriage. Are you married? Then no. Then stop it. Very simple.
But they're in love.
I don't care what they're in.
Back of a band? No,
I'm in love. We're in love.
But they're soulmates. They love each other.
Just wait.
What difference does
make
it
it a
make?
special night. Hey, it's much more special if you just wait on your wedding night, okay? And just 4 months, you're gonna die in 4 months. Take a shower. Good Lord. Jeez. People.
Well, but I personally know of several, I was going to say strong Christian, but maybe that would be the wrong word. People who say they're Christians.
They all say, we're Christians, we're Christians. I'm a Christian. I lie, cheat, steal, commit adultery, but I'm a wonderful Christian. What? I'm not sure what people's
But don't you know
values...
people that say they're strong Christians, and yet once they get engaged, it's like, well, we know we're going to get married, so now it's okay. God would know that we are committed to each other. Now it's fine. Don't you know people that say that?
You're not going to get me to cave on this.
I'm not asking you to cave, but I'm just, but I know
people
they commonly say that.
Are you kidding? There's people who have sex on their first date. We're both Christians.
They're not even on a date.
How do you do that? What's your name again? Oh, shall we get naked? Come on, people. This is insane. Stop it. Do it right. By the way, the reason you don't want to have sex when you're dating is because sex will make you dumb as a brick. Okay, it will. It is supposed to. It's the wonderful, I call it the Novocaine that makes marriage possible, Numb me up, Jesus, hallelujah. But that's great, and it is, and it's that wonderful thing. And in marriage, it's the kind of thing that holds people together for a lifetime. Yeah. You do this before you married, it just makes you dumb. And that's why the stories, if we took the time just to look at this crowd and listen to the stories of people who were dating the wrong person, and I don't know what I was thinking, and I don't know why this happened, and then ask them, were you having sex?
Well,
yeah, we were. Because it's almost unanimously, sex will cloud your judgment. Just wait. Do it right. 4 months. Good. I could see if we were waiting for another 4 years.
Well,
at least a reasoning.
Yeah.
4 months. Take a shower.
Question.
Go for a walk.
We'll get to another email question in just a moment on love, marriage, and stinking thinking.
Mark Gungor may be bringing his Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage seminar to a city near you.
Now, I believe marriage is a life-giving institution. We live in a culture today that believes marriage is a life-sucking institution. It will suck the life out of you. All right? And that's why we say, make sure you're old enough. Make sure you have enough money. Make sure you have enough education. Make sure you've been dating for 37 years first. Make sure that, get all this stuff. Why? You got to get everything together and ready so that when you say I do, you can withstand the
This wildly entertaining, man-friendly, and informative event is designed to bring hope and positive change to your marriage, improve your communication, help your spouse to better understand you and your needs, and ignite the passion in your relationship. Visit markgungor.com for more information.
By the way, people are doing, I've said this many times before, people are doing an abysmal job today of dating.
Yeah.
It is just horrible. I mean, we were talking about this earlier today. We get these emails, I've been married for 15 months and we're in hell. I've been married for 8 months and we're in hell. I've been married for 3 weeks and we're in hell. It should take you years to get to hell. How in the world are you, these people, because we were talking about this earlier, we didn't go through this. People get married and, oh, it's horrible, it's horrible. I think, you couldn't see this before you said I do. You couldn't see that she was a member of the Addams family, or he was a psycho crazy guy or something, So I don't, again, overwhelmingly because they're getting physically involved. It blinds you. They're not seeing clearly. And when you should be making clear judgments based on the character of the person, looking at what they're really like, what their family's like, all the different things, instead of seeing that because they're being physically engaged with each other, it blinds their brains, and then they run off and get married, and then they wake up and it's like, what have I done?
Yeah. I mean, that happened to me when I was young. I mean, I was dating this guy who treated me terribly. I mean, why do we put up with that as women? I have no idea. Treated me told me I was dumb. I was like, graduated top of my class, but I actually believed it when he said I was dumb, and went on and on and on. And I stuck with him because probably of what you just said. We were sexually active. It creates this invisible bond. And then once you finally break away, you look back and go, what was I thinking?
What was I thinking? We hear this over and over and over again. That's why, folks, you don't want to do this. Just wait. Use this time to make a judgment call. Is this really the kind of person I want to be married to and spend the rest of my life with? Is this the kind of person I can build a life with? Use a little bit more of the head and less of all the hormones and stuff.
Parts.
And the we'll get into that. But just be smart about this so that you can make a good decision. But see, a lot of people, they're not using their brains. They think marriage is about finding their soulmate, finding the right person. You know, once he's the one, she's the one, then the brain just down the toilet, you know? No, you got to be smart about these things, you know?
Next email question.
Next email.
I am 22 years old. Cheers.
Cheers, yeah.
I am 22 years old and my boyfriend is 23. We have been dating for over 3 years, and we really think that we are meant to be together.
Meant to be.
He just doesn't seem to want to commit to marriage, though. He's more interested in hanging out with his friends and doing what he wants rather than being serious about our relationship. He says that he'd rather just have us move in together. And I'm thinking that that's the thing to do, since once we're together all the time, he'll probably see it as more serious and move toward marriage.
No!
What do you think?
No! No! Quit smoking drugs! For crying out loud!
Well...
And these are Christian people that write us this stuff. It's
I know.
What in the world? He doesn't want to marry you, but wants to have sex with you.
Pretty convenient.
Why? Let me ask you a question. The most important, valuable thing a woman can give a man is her body. The most valuable thing a man can surrender to a woman is his freedom. Ooh. Why do women routinely give their most valuable without expecting his most valuable?
Ooh, that's a good way of putting that.
What is the problem here? Why do they do this? Again, it's all part of, I'm telling you, as we said in previous shows, it's this attack on the female gender that is, Satan is destroying their self-esteem. They have no self-esteem, and then it just allows for havoc in the relationship. Yeah. It's time that we start teaching women how, again, to be strong, confident women. Yes. Teach them the Bible. Teach them, listen, this is who God says you are.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be a victim anymore. You don't have to tolerate this kind of... Teach our young girls, hey, you are valuable, you are precious, you are important. Now, granted, it would be helpful if Dad would stick around.
Ooh.
Dads.
Yes.
You know,
Preach it.
I got to run out to find myself. I'll find you. Good. Find yourself, you narcissistic snot, for crying out loud. You made a commitment, live by your commitment. That's what a man does. A real man honors his commitments to his wife and to his children.
Yes.
One of the reasons why these girls are so quick to run off to all over places, because they had no father and they felt totally abandoned.
So true.
But it's a cycle. At some place, you just got to stop and start building character into people.
Yeah.
And these, you know, I talk about this in my book, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage.
You couldn't remember the name
I can't remember the name of my book. I don't know.
Let's see, what
it's a book out there. Look it up. But
what's the name of that book?
And why isn't it selling better? He can't remember the name. That's for starters. In my book, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage, I talk about this thing. I use the example of the Wild West. Okay.
Oh, yes.
You know, back at the end of the 1800s, men moved out to the West. And there were hardly any women involved, and they called it the Wild West because these guys were violent.
They were spitting a lot.
Spitting each other, scratching. I mean, they were pretty disgusting.
They were just guys.
Any depiction of the West during this time shows it was an undisciplined, wild thing.
Yes.
What is amazing is within just 10, 20 years later, everything changed. These men became productive contributors of their society, faithful husbands. Do you know what historians credit the dramatic difference? The women showed up. The women showed up. And when they showed up, they were the kind of women I'm talking about that we need today. I call them butt-kicking women. But they're strong, confident women who know who they are. These women showed up at the West, and they told these guys, hey, you want some of this? You're going to behave yourself.
That's right, they did.
And these boys, overwhelmingly, it jerked the slack out of them.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute historical fact. But if those women would have been like women of today, and would have went out there and just moved in with these boys.
I'll give you whatever you
taking
want.
care of these boys and cleaning their clothes and hoping, I hope he loves me someday. I just know if I move in someday he'll get serious. They would have stayed wild and it would have stayed a mess. Thank God there were strong, confident women who jerked us slack. We need that again today. We really need this.
Yeah, and we also need to tell our young ladies, I mean, I know several young ladies just that attend my church that have talked to me, you know, as kind of an older mentor, and they actually believe, for some odd reason, even though they've grown up in church, that, well, it's okay to sleep with my boyfriend because God will forgive me. Grace covers this.
Yeah, but what does Paul say to that? He says, shall we continue in sin that grace may much more abound?
Yeah.
It's one of the few places in the New Testament where you see exclamation points. He says, God forbid. God, you don't do the wrong thing saying, well, God will forgive me. You know, it's just a formula for disaster. Again, this is why we have such a high divorce rate. These are the women and the guys who will get married and email people like us and say 12 months later, we're in hell, it's horrible, she'll never shut up, he's an idiot, he never goes. You know, because you're doing this, it clouds your judgment and it's a disaster. Look, God is not a prude. Okay? He doesn't tell you not to do these things because he's embarrassed about it. First time somebody was, a married couple were being intimate, I don't think God went, oh, myself! What are they doing? I never thought of this before. You know, of course, it was his idea. It's fine, it's fabulous. He's not a prude, but you want to do things right. If you do it right, then there's wisdom and there's health and there's blessing that comes in. You do it wrong, look at the mess around you. As long as women and young men are thinking, gee, it doesn't matter. Why do you think people have the disaster they have today? It's because of decisions like that. Say, well, it doesn't matter. You know, God will forgive us. It'll be all right. We love each other. We love each other, you know.
So for this lady, what do you think? She puts a deadline on this guy to make a commitment for marriage? I mean, they've been dating for 3 years.
Deadline? I say dump his behind ASAP.
Much more compassionate than you. I'm like, well, okay, I'll give you a deadline.
How many stations just canceled me now? But this is insane. If my daughter was dating some guy for 3 years and he refused to commit to her, but instead reasoned, again, Christian guy says, well, let's just live together first, I would strangle her. I said, what are you doing? Dump this guy. How dare you? Of course, my daughter would have never, because she was a strong woman who knew who she was. There was no way. Man, Ross, she'd have killed you. My son-in-law's in the back. I mean, you know, girls who really get this, they're not victims like this. She would never tolerate it. What?
You want to test drive me at the...
Boom, you want to test drive? I'll test drive you.
Not going to work.
I mean, come on, guys. I mean, if a woman is, and this is boyfriend's, dump this guy. Dump him, ASAP.
So how long should a person date? I mean, because you don't want to date 2 weeks and say, let's get married, but what, about a year?
A year's a good time, but we can debate that. But the point is, when a guy finally decides, you know, I don't want to get married, let's just live together first, dump him.
Red flag.
Dump him right away. Get out of there.
Good
Run for your life. You will thank me, I promise you. You will thank me.
More exciting emails coming up in just a moment on Love, Marriage, and Stinking Thinking.
In 2008, Mark Gungor created a men's conference unlike anything the world had ever seen.
God is the most glorified when you get a bunch of guys together who don't agree on all kinds of things, but they still love each other.
The entire Manly Man Conference is now available on DVD, featuring Mark Gungor, Brad Stein, Jimmy Bratcher, and David Murrow.
Saw one that said, God is my co-pilot. So I sped up to see who was driving.
Visit us online at laughyourway.com or call 866-52-LAUGH.
Cool groove.
Man of many talents.
You know what that groove reminds me of?
No. I'll bite.
People get ready. There's a train. Y'all remember that song?
You are so hard to focus.
What? You never heard that song?
Yes, I have heard
you
that
have?
song. Thank you for asking.
All the way up there in Bellingham, Washington, they have that song.
Okay,
She lives on the edge of the world, by the way. She does. She lives like in the middle of...
It's the most beautiful place
You
next
are on the
to
edge of... There's nothing.
Wisconsin,
There's
of course.
Bellingham, and then life ends.
That's because we're on the ocean.
Yeah, but you're like there. You're like, wow. Anyway.
We're back to dating again.
We're back to dating.
Final thoughts.
Not you and I, but...
Yeah, well, that would be an interesting show.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer or something.
Yeah.
My question is about talking to my boyfriend about pornography.
Talking to him about pornography.
Yeah, recently we were discussing another subject and the issue of pornography came up. I had made a few points about how damaging pornography is, and I voiced my opinion that this issue is taken too lightly by most people in our culture. He remarked, "Hey, I'm a guy, I've seen it," before making his point about the objectification of women, easy word for me to say. We agreed that porn is a bad thing, but I worry that he might think porn is still acceptable, and her question is, she says, "I will need to know at some point whether he has a problem with porn, but to what extent is this my business as his girlfriend? Do you think I should wait and just bring it up if and when we get engaged, or do I have a right to know and ask this question as his girlfriend?"
If you're concerned about it now, bring it up now.
That would seem to be logical, wouldn't it?
Why would you wait until we're thinking about getting engaged or married?
Yeah, and a year from now.
After we're married, you know, and then they're miserable. See, that's the whole purpose of the dating process, people. It's supposed to be a time of discovery, and everything is fair game. Everything is fair game. Their past, their likes, their dislikes, their family, everything. But nobody does that. All they key off is, how do you make me feel?
Don't bat your eyes at me. It's kind of scary.
There are people who decide to marry someone because of how he kisses.
Oh.
He's a good kisser. I knew he was the one.
Probably not a good choice.
This is your standard? This is insane. Everything is fair game. Look, you know, these people get married as, you know, I just hate her family. They never shut up. They're always in our business. His mother's always coming up. You know, women coming up. Her mother's coming up. You don't see this before? You can't tell he's a mama's boy before you married the guy? You should be looking at everything. You know, if you go over to the house and it's, you know, the Munsters, you know.
You're marrying into that.
Now, if you're comfortable with that, great.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, I mean, a lot of us married into, you know, which is fine. But as long as you're good with that. But because I know people who hate it, and they're miserable. I think, didn't you look at this before you got married? He's got an anger problem. You didn't notice this before? And seriously, this is the problem. They ignore all the faults. They ignore all the obvious signs. By the way, the best thing you can do is get some mentors in your life who can help you call some of these things out.
Because they can see clearly where you cannot.
Because they're not dating the guy, you know? He's not dating the girl. They're not kissing you guys. Okay? They can see, hey, this is a bad idea.
Yes.
If your friends and your pastor and your parents, everybody near you is saying, this is not good for you, listen to them.
Absolutely. But we've received emails along this line from women, and the guys are saying, you are invading my privacy, it's not your right to ask these questions.
When she starts asking the questions and stuff?
Yeah, because we're not married yet, so you can't control me.
Yeah. Well, you know, it all depends on the context. You just met the girl, and the first time you're going on a date, she says, can I have the passwords to your email account?
We actually received an email question like that. It's like, well, I think I should be able to have his email.
And I was like, run, she's a psycho, okay? But you've been dating for a long time, and now she wants access to your life and wants to know more about these questions and things like that. And then if he starts blowing you off or she starts blowing you off,
none of my business.
Move on.
Ooh.
Oh, people, don't be so desperate. I know some people are so desperate for anybody.
Yeah.
But trust me, better to be happily single than miserably married. All you got to do is talk to miserably married people, and they will tell you it is not a pretty picture.
Now, when you get married, if you have a suspicion that your spouse is viewing pornography or texting other women or whatever, then you would have the right, you would agree to perhaps say, I need to have access to your passwords because I think there's something funky going on here. I mean, then you have a right to ask for passwords to Facebook and that kind of thing, correct? Please say yes.
I think so. No, I think so. It's just, you know, what in the world? You know, all that matters at the end is what you two are comfortable with. That's really all that matters. if my wife says, I want your passwords.
Does she have your passwords? I'm just curious.
No, I don't think she's not. Well, I only have one password. She knows what it is. You know, I mean, it's, you know, it is what it is. You know, if she says, I want it, I go, no, you can't have it. Well, there's a formula for misery.
Well, that happens a lot. We get those emails too.
But what a dumb move on the guy's part, man.
Well, because he's hiding something.
I've learned if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Isn't that the truth?
So, anyway, it's kind of complicated. Well,
you think so?
Yeah.
Relationships are complicated.
Relationships are complicated. It's negotiating. You wrestle it out.
Yeah.
But better you learn as much about this stuff before you say I do, is my argument.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Let's date intelligently.
And don't have sex while you're dating because it makes you
Stupid.
There's the word from the man, and I would agree with that one. We'll come back with more on the next episode, but in the meantime, go ahead and go to stinkinthinking.com. You'll find out all of the resources about our radio show, which is a daily show where he is even wackier than he is right here. I think you'll be entertained, and there'll be some good food for thought, too. Again, stinkinthinking.com, and join us next time on Love, Marriage, and Stinking Thinking.
Love, Marriage, and Stinking Thinking is made possible by your continued support of this network. To learn more about Mark Gungor and how you can improve your marriage, visit us online, stinkingthinking.tv. There, you will find Mark's best-selling book, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage. You can also see if Mark will be bringing his seminar to a city near you. And you can listen to Mark and his daily radio show, where you can call in with your questions and speak with Mark in person. Love, Marriage, and Stinking Thinking is a production of Laugh Your Way America.